This is a 3-year story of a deer that I've been chasing that I call BLT. BLT became BLT this year in 2021. When I first met BLT, it was 2020, and I had just seen him as a 2.5-year-old, and at the time I was just calling him the big little deer because he had his left side was normal and his right side was small. And what I mean by that is his left side looked like a normal 2.5-year-old rack, and the right side was also normal, but just everything was just miniature. So I was like, interesting. Kind of thought it was funny. He was all throughout our property that year, and for a 2.5-year-old, he was out to his ears, and I thought he had some good potential to be a nice deer. One of my best hunts I had with BLT in 2020 was a middle of December hunt. It was a cold front, hard morning frost, and I got some great footage of him coming into my radish field. And turns out that he really was hitting that radish field hard. I got lots of pictures after pretty much December 1st, frequently him coming back in December, hitting the radishes. And he was around the property most of the season, but that was where I was able to really put together the first part of the pattern for BLT. I waited until the first week of March and I went in to do some shed hunting. And sure enough, I ended up finding one side of BLT's antlers in 2020. I went into where I thought his bedroom was, and I found his big side of 2020. Just a regular side of what would look to be an 8-pointer, but he was a 7-pointer in 2020. He only had 3 on his small side and 4 on his bigger side. I was excited to see they definitely made it through deer season, and I had pictures to go along with that, so I was feeling pretty hopeful anyway. But it's always fun to try to find their sheds, especially in the bedroom where you think he's bedding. Fast forward to the 2021 summer, and I started to get BLT in velvet pictures, and pretty quickly I was able to identify him from his shape of his rack, and not too long into about the beginning of July, I was able to see his bigger side growing and his smaller side still staying small. So he was easy to pick out. So I think that's just part of what this deer is. I don't know if he was injured when he was really young, and maybe that's what threw his big side, little side off. But either way, he was a wider 7-pointer this year. He was very frequent around our farm, something that I built and learned from the year prior. The month of December, he was at that radish field so much every night. I had a good feeling that he had already made it through Missouri gun season. At that point, I knew he was 3.5. I wanted to get him to 4.5 to see what he might really become. I started to look for sheds in March, and I never did find it. And I know he has his core area somewhere around me. I know he lost his bigger shed sometime after February 15th. I never did find it. It could still be out there. I might have just overlooked it, but I did my best to find it and no luck. Fast forward to the summer of 2022, and sure enough, I picked him out really quick again. I could tell his big body, his 4.5-year-old body, his antlers grew just like they were, and his good side was really prevalent. And then this year, his weak side actually grew an 1/8 point. He still has his width outside of his ears, and I'm really excited to see that he's nice and wide. He grew some mass compared to last year, and I'm feeling confident this year that maybe we can seal the deal. Oddly enough, deer season 2022, I was seeing him pretty frequently. I just never had that encounter with him during the bow season. And as soon as rifle season came, I really thought he got shot because he completely disappeared from all of my cameras. And I was a little bit discouraged. I was like, man, this is the time where a lot of deer go missing for various reasons. But I was really looking at the late December picks because in the past he had been coming back late December to eat our food. If I think back to it, December of 22, honestly, our food plot struggled a little bit. We didn't have a lot of late season food, so maybe he found another food source. But fast forward to the summer of 2023, and I got one particular picture of him. I knew exactly who he was by the chunk missing out of his neck. His antlers matched exactly to his 4.5-year-old set, so really his antlers didn't put on a lot of growth. However, his small side matched his other side. So he actually had an even set of 8 points, which was really cool to see. And I think that's why I had a hard time recognizing him, because his whole life he had a weak side. And now at 5.5 years old, he finally grew out of that weak side.
Well, good morning, everybody. Today is December 30th. We're up here for a late season muzzleloader hunt, and I'm getting ready. It is very cold. It's about 27 degrees, and it feels like 18 or 19 with the wind. Extremely hard frost last night. Everything is snow melting, so there's not a ton of snow on the ground, but where the sun hasn't hit yet, there's still some snow. They got about 2 inches yesterday morning, I guess. So we're gonna try our luck with the muzzleloader. Last year did not have a late season muzzleloader tag for a buck, and the year before that I had COVID, so this is my first outing with my new muzzleloader, so I'm excited.
sadly, that's where this story takes an unfortunate turn. After finding that blood for about 15 yards, it completely stopped again. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to follow this path and hope that I start finding some more. I made it about another 85 to 90 yards where the path actually starts going up on top of the hill and flattens out. I found 3 more drops of blood on top of that hill, and that was the last of the blood I found. I was so disappointed and discouraged immediately. I just started following the path looking for more, and it opens up into a little section of field, and it usually that deer path cuts straight across into another small timber block, and then to another big open hay field, and then into another thick block of woods. And if I had to guess, that deer just followed along that path onto the neighbor's property. In my head, I was convinced that the little bit I could remember that deer had to have been hit good enough. I thought maybe that deer took a turn that maybe I just missed, because they do that all the time when they're hurt and frantically looking for cover. And we have some good spots where deer can hide in there. This whole time I had my Onyx tracker running so I could see my footprint. And here is the path that I took.
So this might be a little hard to follow, but the shot was done up at the top right-hand corner, come about 80 yards down into the woods, where the first big glob of blue is, and that's where I found blood for about 15 yards. Go another 90 yards south of that, and that's where I found the last 3. And if you follow that straight line out of the woods, going across that small edge of field, that is the path that I think the deer took straight down to the neighbors, if I had to guess. I was just walking all of the creeks and all of the edges all around, looking for any sign of the deer.
The deer did all the telltale signs that he was hurt and heading for water, but unfortunately, I never found him. So for the first time ever, I was not about to just let this deer go, so I called the dog. That afternoon, I got a hold of the tracker, and he informed me that he'd be able to be there by the evening. He didn't have any interest in being videoed, so I went ahead and put the cameras away, and I went into the woods and followed him and his dog, and we went tracking. So I took him to where I shot the deer, and he harnessed the dog up, and the dog followed right down the trail, and more or less he wanted me to take him to where I found first blood, and I got him there, and then also to where I found last blood. There's a couple of key things that I did not know going in with a dog, if you're planning on using a dog, that he taught me that night that I want to share. So if anybody else decides to get a tracking dog, that you may not mess up your chances. If you're going to get a tracking dog, whenever you find last blood, stop. Go directly back the path that you came. Do not go forward, grid searching. Do not go looking ahead of the last blood. If you're serious about the deer and you want to have a chance to find it, do not go forward with searching on your own past last blood. For those who don't know, when a deer is shot and you call a dog's not tracking blood. The dog is tracking their scent. There's a gland between their toes of their hoof that when a deer is in distress or injured, depending on the severity of the injury, the deer is going to put off more scent with his glands, which is what the dog uses to track. Another thing that is important if you're going to use a dog is if it's really windy, the wind can actually spread the scent that the deer has taken, and it can make it harder for a dog to track. So where I messed up was, obviously, I kept going on the path, and unfortunately, I was taking that deer's scent it was putting off, and everywhere I would step, that scent would get on me, and I would pick it up and place that elsewhere, and that dog had a really hard time staying on the path that the deer took because I went around searching. Again, this was my first time using a dog. I didn't know that. Unfortunately, I disturbed the scent trail, so it was unable to be recovered. And I'm stuck here now just waiting and praying for a trail cam picture of my deer to be alive. I'm still kind of waiting on that. I don't know. In the back of my head, from the years I've hunted, when I see that tail tucked down, it's usually a pretty good sign they're hit pretty good. But anything can happen, and it's not always that way. But I'm just hoping that there's a small chance that BLT can still be out there and still alive, and I'll be looking for him. I'll be looking for any sheds. I'll be looking for his deadhead come shed season. Bring me a little bit of closure. But for now, this is the heartbreak story of BLT, and unfortunately, it didn't end the way I wanted it to. It's not completely over, but I just feel deep down that this chapter has ended. I'll bring any updates if I do find it, and it would be really special if I'm able to. Hope you've enjoyed this story of BLT. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. It's been fun making this video. It's been literally recorded over the past couple of years, so this one's kind of fun and kind of different. I want to give a special shout out, thank you to our sponsors for our winter tournament series that we're putting on at Lake of the Ozarks. Thank you for sponsoring us. We're hoping to see people at our next tournament. The tournament in February is going to be February 17th at 7:30 to 3:30 at Kaufman Beach. You'll be able to pre-register online on our website if you choose, or you can just sign up the morning of the tournament. So if you're looking for some fun winter fishing, hope you guys come on out. It's going to be a blast. Austin and I'd love to see you guys. So again, thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed. We'll have more for you soon.